found myself in the remote suburbs for a work assignment, a place far removed from the bustling city life I was accustomed to. It was a rare venture outside my comfort zone, and I had to secure a hotel room for my stay. Poring over my smartphone, I stumbled upon an app that offered me a room in a seemingly desolate hotel. Surprisingly, it was a last-minute save, as I assumed such remote locations wouldn't be serviced by online booking platforms. I quickly made a reservation, ignoring the little voice of doubt that whispered in the back of my mind. On the day of my arrival, I drove through winding, unfamiliar roads, passing by dilapidated buildings and seemingly abandoned houses. Finally, I reached my workplace, where I met with my colleagues, and we discussed the day's tasks. Amid work-related conversations, the topic of accommodations came up. With a sense of accomplishment, I pulled out my phone to show off my booking. My colleagues exchanged uneasy glances, their expressions filled with trepidation. One of them finally mustered the courage to voice their concerns. "Are you really planning to stay at that hotel?" I was taken aback, wondering what could possibly be wrong with my choice. They began recounting stories about the place, tales of eerie occurrences and restless spirits. My bravado wouldn't allow me to reconsider, and I brushed off their warnings, insisting that it was just for one night. As the workday drew to a close, we parted ways, each heading to our respective lodgings. I, too, set out for my hotel, yearning for a well-deserved rest after a long and exhausting journey. Upon arrival, I checked in at the front desk and received the key to my room, room 737. Eager to relax, I headed straight for the room, leaving behind my apprehensions. The clock had just struck 6 p.m. when I stepped into the dimly lit hallway and made my way to the designated door. Inside the room, I conducted a cursory examination, my eyes darting around to take in the details. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the bed, surrendering to the embrace of sleep. But my peaceful slumber was short-lived. A relentless knocking jolted me awake, and I rushed to the door, bleary-eyed and disoriented. However, upon opening it, I was greeted not by a person, but by an abyss of darkness. I strained my eyes to see, but could discern nothing. The knocking persisted, unfazed by my presence. Perplexed, I withdrew and closed the door, only to realize that the sound was emanating from the window. It was a peculiar sound, as if the wind or some unseen force was relentlessly striking the glass. I inched closer, drawn by curiosity and unease. With trembling hands, I cautiously attempted to open the window, expecting to uncover the source of the disturbance. To my surprise, there was nothing outside, no branches, no debris, just an impenetrable void. The knocking remained relentless, a haunting rhythm that sent shivers down my spine. Feeling a growing unease, I decided to contact the hotel staff for assistance. I picked up the phone, only to be met with silence on the other end. The line was dead. I pondered for a moment before deciding to venture downstairs to seek help from a technician, as sleep was now an impossibility in this cacophony. As I stepped out into the darkened corridor, my eyes adjusted to the gloom. To my bewilderment, the hallway lights remained unlit, casting sinister shadows in every direction. Fumbling for my phone, I used its feeble light to navigate the corridor and reach the elevator. Just as I entered the elevator, a voice called out from behind, urgently pleading, "Wait, wait." I hesitated, holding the door open in the dimly lit hallway, waiting for the source of the voice to catch up. But to my mounting anxiety, no one emerged. After a brief pause, I made the decision to proceed and press the button to close the elevator door. However, just as the doors were about to shut, a distinct sound reached my ears, the unmistakable noise of something being dragged across the floor, a chilling clack, 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 clack. I froze my hand inches from the button, waiting for the owner of the mysterious sound to reveal themselves. But once again, no one materialized. Feeling a growing sense of unease, I reluctantly withdrew my hand from the button and used my phone's light to scan the hallway. The dim beam revealed a shadowy figure darting down the corridor. Panic welled up inside me as I struggled to make sense of the inexplicable sight. My heart pounding, I extinguished the phone's light and swiftly pressed the elevator button, longing to escape this inexplicable nightmare. Just as the doors began to close, a soft voice whispered, "Going down." The voice sent chills down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone in that elevator. The doors closed entirely, and I descended in silence, the feeling of being watched gnawing at my every nerve. Finally, the elevator reached the lobby, and I bolted out, not daring to glance behind me. The lobby provided a fleeting sense of relief due to its well-lit environment, and I sought the comfort of the front desk. Moments later, a hotel employee appeared, seemingly materializing from the shadows. Their presence brought some semblance of comfort, and I approached them, hoping to find answers to the disturbing events that had transpired thus far. With a quiver in my voice, I asked, "Could you please send a technician to check my room? There's a persistent, loud knocking sound coming from the window, and the room has an unbearable odor." The employee gazed at me with a vacant expression, their response slow and disjointed, "Yes." As I waited in the lobby, uncertainty gnawed at me, and I couldn't help but notice the unsettling atmosphere that permeated the hotel. It was eerily quiet, devoid of the usual hum of guests and staff. The flickering lights overhead cast eerie, elongated shadows, deepening the sense of dread that clung to the air. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity as I sat in the dimly lit lobby, my mind racing with thoughts of the inexplicable. What sinister forces lurked within these walls? My thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of the technician, a disheveled figure who seemed out of place in the eerie stillness. I eagerly explained the situation, recounting the relentless knocking from the window and the foul odor that permeated the room. The technician, however, displayed no signs of surprise or concern. With an air of detachment, they muttered, "Let's take a look." Together, we ascended to the 7th floor, where room 737 awaited inspection. The technician's demeanor remained unsettlingly calm, as if this were routine. I unlocked the door, and we entered the room, the knocking now echoing loudly in the confined space. The technician proceeded to examine the window, their movements slow and deliberate. To my astonishment, they found nothing amiss, no source for the incessant knocking, no rational explanation for the haunting sound that had tormented me. Frustration and fear welled up inside me, threatening to consume my sanity. I implored the technician to continue searching, to uncover the source of the eerie disturbance, but their response remained stoic and unyielding. "There's nothing here." Resigned to the inexplicable, I thanked the technician, who departed without a word. Left alone once more in the room, I decided to investigate the room further, driven by an unrelenting curiosity and dread. My search led me to a dusty shelf that bore the marks of an attempt to conceal something. As I carefully removed the shelf, I revealed a hidden recess. But as I gazed into the darkened void, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air. The knocking sound reached a deafening crescendo, reverberating through the room like a malevolent force unleashed. Terrified and disoriented, I stumbled back from the hidden recess, the room closing in on me like a nightmarish trap. My rationality fractured, and I bolted for the door, my mind consumed by the instinctual need to escape this room of horrors. As I fled into the dimly lit corridor, the cacophony of knocks pursued me, echoing through the desolate hotel. My breaths came in frantic gasps as I ran, the walls seemingly closing in on me, and the oppressive darkness threatening to engulf me. Reaching the lobby once more, I found the hotel staff had vanished, leaving me in a suffocating void of silence. The lobby's lights flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced around me, further fueling my terror. With the horrors of room 737 still fresh in my mind, I sprinted and bolted toward my car. The parking area was bathed in eerie darkness, except for one solitary vehicle, the same one I had noticed when I arrived. As I fumbled to open my car door, I couldn't shake the feeling that something malevolent lurked in the shadows, watching, waiting. My heart raced, and I quickly composed myself before starting the engine and driving away. But as I ventured deeper into the unfamiliar suburbs, a chilling realization dawned on me. Driving aimlessly through the inky blackness was a perilous prospect. With no knowledge of the area, I was headed into the unknown, and the clock had just struck 3 a.m. Fear not at my resolve as I pondered my options. I couldn't drive blindly, it was a recipe for disaster. And the thought of encountering something supernatural in the dark, deserted roads filled me with dread. After much contemplation, I made a reluctant decision. I would return to the hotel, not to the accursed room, but to the lobby. At least there, the faint glow of light offered some semblance of safety. As I settled into a chair in the lobby, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. The oppressive darkness outside seemed less menacing within the hotel's walls, and I silently hoped for a peaceful, uneventful night. Time crept by, and I began to regain a semblance of composure. It was then that I noticed a hotel employee approaching, walking with deliberate steps. The sight of a familiar face brought a modicum of comfort amid the supernatural uncertainty. As I approached the hotel employee in search of companionship and solace, I was met with an unexpected response. His expression contorted into one of bewilderment as he regarded me with a puzzled look. "Which room does the customer stay in?" he asked, his tone laced with confusion. I replied, "Room 737, though the uncertainty in his demeanor left me with an unsettling feeling. He seemed even more baffled by my response and questioned whether walk-in customers typically reserved rooms themselves. I explained that I had booked the room through a mobile app, wondering aloud why I had been assigned such a room. The employee's response was cryptic, and he spoke in veiled terms. "At night, this place usually doesn't have any guests. It's a common occurrence. You're not from around here, are you?" I confirmed that I had come to work in the area and had made the reservation through the app. His reaction, however, was unexpected. He appeared taken aback as if my presence there after dark was a rarity. I decided to confide in him, revealing the unsettling experiences I had encountered since my arrival. I recounted the knocking sounds, the shadowy figures, and the eerie encounter in the elevator. To my surprise, the employee didn't react with shock or concern. Instead, he appeared almost nonchalant, as if my ordeal was a regular occurrence. In a matter-of-fact tone, he explained this place primarily caters to daytime customers. At night, very few dare to stay. It's a different world after dark. Perplexed and growing increasingly uneasy, I pressed further. But why was my room redecorated? The employee's response only deepened the mystery. Some rooms are best left undisturbed. Yours was one of them. The employee's revelation about the murder that had transpired in room 737 sent a shiver down my spine. He began to recount the chilling details of that fateful night 2 years ago. In hushed tones, he described the mentally unstable guest who had checked into the room. The man's behavior had grown increasingly erratic as the night wore on. He had become convinced that the hotel employee attending to him was an imposter, a sinister figure conspiring against him. As the employee provided service, the situation escalated into violence. The guest had attacked her with a sudden, frenzied rage. She had fought desperately to escape the room, but the assailant had overpowered her, leaving a trail of blood in his wake. Her lifeless body was eventually discovered in the ventilation shaft, hidden from view but not from the horrors of the hotel. The hallway and room had been splattered with her blood, and the hotel had become a scene of unspeakable tragedy. When the authorities arrived to investigate the gruesome murder, they found the mentally unstable guest locked in the room, rocking back and forth in a state of delirium, murmuring about malevolent forces. The hotel had been tarnished by the gruesome incident, and its reputation had taken a dark turn. Room 737 had been sealed off and redecorated, but the scars of the past remained. The male staff member's grim account of the murder that had transpired in room 737 weighed heavily on my mind. I couldn't comprehend the horrors that had unfolded within the very walls of the hotel where I had sought refuge. My thoughts drifted to the female employee who had checked me in, the same woman with long hair I had encountered in the elevator. I inquired about her whereabouts, expecting to find some solace in her presence, but the employee's response sent a shiver down my spine. Where are the female employees? There's only me at the hotel tonight, he said, his words laced with an unsettling finality. Silence hung in the air as I processed his words. The woman who had welcomed me, the one I had spoken to earlier, she couldn't be found. It was as if she had vanished into thin air, leaving behind a void of unanswerable questions. With a newfound urgency, I left the male staff member and made my way to the lobby, where I sat down on a sofa to collect my thoughts. The events of the night weighed heavily on me, and the silence of the lobby seemed to reverberate with an eerie emptiness. As the first rays of morning sunlight pierced through the hotel's windows, I knew that I had to make a decision, to heed the warning and leave the hotel immediately or to stay and confront the unsettling mysteries that surrounded me. The suspense and fear had reached their zenith, and the choice I made would determine the course of my eerie hotel experience in the suburbs. Thank you, awesome audience, for tuning in. Your support and enthusiasm mean